G'day, legends. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. If you're in Australia, it's raining pretty much everywhere, and I hope that the post-weekend blues haven't got you too down, but I hope that you guys had a great weekend. Now, of course, today we're going to talk about Israel, Gaza, the situation there, and I really want to add some perspective to what is happening. We'll talk about the news, and we'll have a look at the maps. Now, firstly, in the last video, we were on the eve of the proposed ceasefire that was to the UN by the United Arab Emirates. Of course, the only Arab country that sits on the Security Council for the UN, although the 5 permanent member states can veto anything that is proposed there. Now, the United States did choose to veto this while the UK abstained. Now, this is exactly what we thought would happen. We were 99% sure that the US would actually choose to veto this, with Robert Wood, the US Deputy Ambassador to the UN, saying, while the US strongly supports a durable peace in which both Israel and Palestine can live in peace and security, we do not support calls for an immediate ceasefire. This would only plant the seeds for the next war, because Hamas has no desire to see a durable peace, to see a two-state solution. And as we know, Hamas has rejected two-state solutions before. Now, following the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres also said that the UN Security Council's authority and credibility were severely undermined. I don't know if he knows the same UN that I know, but the authority, credibility of the UN, yeah, it's not brilliant. It's been in the gutter for... We looked at footage of dozens of fighting-age males detained by the IDF. Now, more footage has risen now of these groups and men who have been stripped down to their underwear, surrendering with weapons also. And some news agencies have questioned the authenticity of this footage, saying that it's staged by the IDF, which I don't believe, but they are saying that it is staged. And we have this video here that's gone viral, of course, McCarver tank in the background with the old cope cage on top here, handing down AK variants or AK Kalashnikov weapons here. Remember that these have been bought and sold, and there's a million different licensed variants of an AK, but they all look the same. I can't bloody tell the difference. But I know that stock, that is Chinese, I think. Anyway, these shirtless guys, they're stripped down to their underwear, surrendering weapons, therefore most likely in Hamas. But people are saying that this isn't real, that it's staged, which, whatever. Now, also these, I used a term last time that people jumped on a bit, a PUC, which means person under control. Now, at least in the Australian military, and I think this is wider NATO, we don't really use the term POW, a prisoner of war, because then they've been arrested, tried, and they're a prisoner at that point, where this is a PUC. It's a person who's under control. As a soldier, we don't have the ability to actually arrest someone. We can only put them under control, detain them. So I'll continue using that point. Now, we also have a little bit of footage here of the southern border of Gaza, pretty much exactly where I was looking into when my time over there, and maybe I'll head back, we'll see. Just at the amount of sheer destruction here, and it's just been leveled, that nothing is really standing there but bits and pieces. Rubble. Now, Israel has claimed to have struck 250 targets overnight and has released this video along with what they've said. So, of course, a Kalashnikov AK. This one I'm talking about different variants. Chinese one. I've shot one of those Chinese AKs. And of course, this is all being found in residential areas. Now, with these weapons as well, Russian, Chinese, it doesn't mean that Russia is supplying stuff in. The big rumor of Ukraine was supplying stuff, that's just BS as well. But we have seen some evidence of also North Korean and Iranian weapons there. We know Iran had probably more than we think to do with that October 7th massacre that crossed the border too. Now, Hamas has claimed that they thwarted an IDF rescue attempt in Gaza when the IDF was breaching in, and that this had resulted in the death of one of the IDF soldiers who was previously captured. Now, I can't show you any of that aftermath footage on here, but it will be on my Telegram a little bit later on if you'd like, I guess, to see that, to add some perspective of how that is happening there. But realistically, if you were a former serviceman, particularly serviceman or servicewoman in Hamas captivity, it's very, very glim situation there, sadly, for those being held hostage. Now, yesterday, the IDF announced 3 more soldiers who were killed in action and 1 more who was killed in a traffic incident, bringing the operational toll now to 102. And let's just have a look over this, because I did find something interested in this. Now, this guy's like, I believe, an official Israeli journalist photographer, because I see the amount of access he has with the IDF. I'm like, yeah, there's a bit more going on here. The IDF announces the deaths of 4 soldiers, 3 of whom were killed during fighting in the southern Gaza Strip yesterday, bringing the toll of slain troops in the ground offensive against Hamas to 101. I might be slightly incorrect on 102. That was off another source. So let's go 101, although this was slightly older. They are Sergeant Major Gideon Lani, 35, Sergeant Major Etan Petty, Major Vitar Cohen, and Major Gail Birch. Now, this was killed in a military-related traffic collision. So what I do want to look at is these 3 here. Now, of course, all reserves, very common in Israel because everyone has to serve a number of years in the IDF. Now, there's nothing askew with that. But something I do find weird is 2 sergeant majors and a major. So high ranks who have been killed, 35, 36, 42. People go, what are these old men doing there? No, well, these, one, not old men. They're bloody mid to late 30s and early 40s. But these are high ranks. This is the equivalent warrant officer and OC of a company here as well. So these are higher ranks. Weird to see this. Typically, you see more of your private soldier, lance corporal killed, and these higher ranks. That is, to me, there may be more in what exactly has happened here as well. But that is interesting to see those high ranks sadly being killed on the operation in Gaza. Now, we're going to look over maps and movements. And as far as movements, Israel continued to close into the center of Jabalia in the north and push their way further south into Khan Yunis. One thing, though, is Israel has so far failed to smother possible launch sites of missiles, as multiple barrages still head out of Gaza indiscriminately into regions of Israel every day. And these launch sites are very difficult to see because it has been proven that they're hidden amongst or close to civilian infrastructure, schools, mosques, even humanitarian compounds, as well as even in like civilian flatbed, like trucks, dump trucks and things like this. So very hard, but it has shown that even with the amount of ISR drones, the amount of just ISR in general over a relatively small area, that Hamas's network of getting those missiles out is still working as well. So we're going to go over the maps, and I do have a bit of an interactive map that I've found as well. Thank you to Syriac Maps for this. So we're going to work our way on the 8th of December up to the 10th. Now, the majority of what we have is a day or two old, but it will show where some movements are happening. So let's talk about the 8th of December, and we'll line some things up. So on the northern front, so of course here on this map, this is the northern front. Now, what we can do is we can have a little bit of a look around like this. So we will be improving exactly how we do the maps from now on, now that I've found how to do this. The IDF advanced in many areas of the Jabalia camp, reaching the police station. And I'll bring up this map as well next to it. So this is the 8th of December here. So this is the same northern region. This is now 2 days old, but you can see that this area has been confirmed as well, pushing out into areas here and closing this gap. Now, we can measure what this gap actually is here. So no more than 300 meters there. So very, very close, of course, within small arms range. But we still do know that a lot of tunnel systems are a hell of a lot of problems. So, of course, this is still the front line. But even around here, of course, where I was standing was in Sderot, but there were still tunnels popping up behind the front line. So still a big issue here, just because when this closes up, and this is, strategically enveloped here, doesn't mean there's not still a hell of a lot of danger being in this region. Let's continue. Israeli troops continue advancing to the Shujair district and reach the Moin Bissau school while continue advancing around Palestinian Stadium. During these operations, many civilians were detained again. Most of them were hidden in hospitals and schools. So we're talking about the center of Gaza here. So as you can see, This, of course, is then up to date on this map, but this was updated to push through and, of course, are enveloping this region down in here as well. So let's have a map of 800 meters. That said, like I said, with the amount of tunnel systems, all that, just being on top of the ground doesn't really mean that you're in control. It's a hell of a lot. We talk about how small Gaza is. It's a hell of an area that you have to control every square inch because it's so dense. Now, on the southern front, the IDF made significant advances west of Khan Yunis along Saladin West and Nasser roads, reaching Jalal Street to the center of the town and 5 Street, where Palestinian groups were putting fierce resistance. So, and these are the streets that we spoke of that split down here, trying to envelope this Azaj Jarrah region here down into Khan Yunis. As today, the big news is that the IDF are getting into the center of Khan Yunis now, and from the IDF captured the rest of Abasan Sergia and the close to meet with the troops of Khan Yunis axis. So this is exactly what we're talking about. These axis then here meeting. Let's give a quick. Right, so is that the closest? So 1.3 kilometers there, so almost a mile. And these are the same areas that they are speaking of, that the advancement down these two roads into the south then of Khan Yunis. Now let's move up to then the 10th of December, as we only had one map update here as well. A situation in Gaza Strip, the northern front, IDF surrounded the Jabalia police station and Jabalia Martyrs Health Center. Clashes with Palestinian groups are taking place around Jabalia Girls Junior High School. So this sort of hammerhead shark looking bit, this is where we are then talking about that we saw a geolocated footage from here, and we can actually drop somewhat down into here. So this is exactly where we are then talking. Let's have a look. So talking just here, that this is pushing out into this region. Now, one thing I will show you is just how flat this area actually is. Of course, the south of Israel is very flat. The north is very mountainous, and that makes a whole different bloody kettle of fish for the fighting going up there, as we do know that has increased a lot today as well. But let's see if we can actually drop down somewhere with that little man. Not particularly, but as we move in, we're going to get more and more idea of what the actual fighting is looking like on the ground, and we'll be able to match this with more footage as we go. But you get an idea of what they are fighting through here and how much of a sort of impossible task it is actually to fight through here as well. So pushing down into this region and closing up really block by block here. Now, from the southern front, clashes between Israeli groups and Palestinian groups are approaching the center of Khan Yunis, approximately 900 meters from the center building municipality. So within a kilometer, we're down in the south from the municipality in Khan Yunis. Now, here we have the municipality right here. Let's see if this is updated since he's actually then spoken about it. About 500 meters there. So a hell of a lot is happening around here. A hell of a lot of bombing is happening a bit of everywhere. I'll get my mind around this map a little bit more as we go, learn the areas, actually how to pronounce things, and of course geolocate more as well as we go. But we are getting somewhere and getting our head around this from my on-the-ground reporting. I find so much easier because it's happening in front of you, involved in it, rather than trying to piece together exactly what is happening. But Legends, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope people see it for what it is, me not trying to justify anything, but read the comments. People won't make it this far and they'll be like, fuck this guy. But have a great day. Of course, hate war. Like, this is absolutely horrible. Have a great day. Have a great week, and I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.